We do have, of course, one more item to get to. I know that it's not exactly a happy subject with most of you, and really, I was gonna let this go. I was really just gonna ignore it, but I thought, you know what? What the hell? Let's delve into it. Talking, of course, about the infamous Mr. Bill Maher. Here we go. So Bill Maher said some things that everyone hated, as per his usual routine. This time, however, it was about the late Stan Lee. May he rest in peace. Because it affects our sphere of existence, we're expected to kick and scream and make a big deal out of it. I don't particularly care. For me, it's like that episode of South Park where Wendy kicks Eric's ass and he starts crying because he thinks that the other kids won't think he's cool anymore. It's only then that the other boys assure him that they always thought he was a loser and their respect for him couldn't possibly get any lower. That's me and my feelings on Bill Maher. Excuse me. Folks, this man is a professional douchebag. It's what he does for a living. I happened to catch his interview with Ben Shapiro. The whole time, all he did was talk to Mr. Shapiro as if he were mentally deranged. Immediately, just from his tone of voice, it sounds like he was trying to talk a man down off a ledge rather than talking to an equal. Your own feelings on Shapiro notwithstanding, it gives you a picture-perfect glimpse at Maher's personality. But now I'm going to pick apart the infamous blog post that everyone's talking about and go over it piece by piece. It begins. Quote, "The guy who created Spider-Man and the Hulk has died, and America is in mourning. Deep, deep mourning for a man who inspired millions to, I don't know, watch a movie, I guess. Now I'm going to pause to acknowledge that in this opening paragraph, he's either intentionally or unintentionally undervaluing the man's life. That's in very poor taste. We all agree on that one. Stan Lee has not only touched the lives and hearts of millions the world over, he has also served in the United States military in World War II. That already makes him worth more than myself, at least, and probably Bill while we're at it." All right, moving on. Quote, "Someone on Reddit posted, 'I'm so incredibly grateful to have lived in a world that included Stan Lee. Personally, I'm grateful I lived in a world that included oxygen and trees, but to each his own. Now, I have nothing against comic books. I read them now and then when I was a kid, and I was all out of Hardy Boys. But the assumption everyone had back then, both the adults and the kids, was that the comic books were for kids, and when you grew up, you moved on to big boy books without the pictures.' Pause. He's not wrong. That was exactly the assumption everyone had back then. Even in the 90s, I've experienced it firsthand. I'm not defending Maher, but truth is truth. That's why I'm mayor of Loserville, because when I was a kid, it was still socially taboo for anyone over the age of 13 to be reading comic books or playing video games in some places. This doesn't mean I support Bill Maher's blog. The truth just hurts sometimes. As consumers of escapist media, we need to be self-aware enough to acknowledge it." All right, the post continues. But then 20 years or so ago, something happened. Adults decided they didn't have to give up kids' stuff, and so they pretended comic books were actually sophisticated literature. And because America has over 4,500 colleges, which means we need more professionals than we have smart people, some dumb people got to be professors by writing theses with titles like Otherness and Heterodoxy and the Silver Surfer. And now, when adults are forced to do grown-up things like buy auto insurance, they call it adulting and act like it's some giant struggle. Whew, that was a mouthful. Pause, again. No part of this is wrong, technically. This is why I complain so much about how everything has to be edgy in the interest of maintaining an adult audience. People seem to labor under the delusion that things like Spider-Man or the Ninja Turtles need to grow up with them. Nearly every day Comic Book Resources publishes self-righteous blog posts about how great it is that there's a gay superhero in or something. This goes for video games as well. Rather than aggrandize these things for forward thinking, just acknowledge them for what they are, fun distractions. Also, maybe stop using made-up terms like adulting. I definitely hate that one myself. The post continues. Quote, "I'm not saying we've necessarily gotten stupider. The average Joe is smarter in a lot of ways than he was in, say, the 1940s, when a big night out was a Three Stooges short and a Carmen Miranda musical. Okay, first of all, what's wrong with the Three Stooges? Also, Carmen Miranda while we're at it. All right, sorry for that interruption. Resuming the blog post. The problem is, we're using our smarts on stupid stuff. I don't think it's a huge stretch to suggest that Donald Trump could only get elected in a country that thinks comic books are important." Yes, Bill, and it's the same country that lets someone like you have a syndicated television show. You see, generalities swing both ways. You know why we should hate this post? Not because of what he said about Stan Lee, not because he's a shrill, hostile little toad, but because this is so typical of modern journalism. Take something innocent like comic books or video games, fuse them with your political agenda, and weaponize it against someone you disagree with politically. This is why I get pissed off when any piece of escapist media feels like they have to represent a specific group, just for the sake of diversity. Moronic ideas like making Thor a woman, making Spider-Man black, making the Penguin gay for Riddler. Then if you say, well, that's dumb.
It's such a power couple, though.
Well, if you say it's dumb, you're accused of name your openly reviled ideology. Racism, sexism, bigotry, whatever. It's exhausting. The whole reason I brought this up was because the British Nerd Network posted about this on Twitter, which is how I found out about it. I later found headline after headline about Bill Maher's disgusting, air quotes, blog posts. Sources like Huffington Post and IGN and many others. I couldn't even enter the name Bill Maher without the first page of results being all about people reacting to his blog. As for BNN, I responded to the post saying, who cares? And I really think this is the best stance to take on this particular subject. Lastly, here's the bottom line. Douchey guy is douchey. He obviously thinks we're not mature enough to handle criticism, so shrieking at him, yes, we are, is only going to prove his point. And I said that to BNN. I was later proven right when I saw a report where he says that very thing. If you really want to get back at him, then take the criticism like an adult and continue to read your comics. People like him are the reason I play video games and sometimes read comic books, because it's a safer alternative to the drugs I want to be on just to deal with blowhards like him. How's that for being an adult, Bill?